The book of Proverbs, verse 17. Whoever loves pleasure will become poor. Whoever loves wine and olive oil will never be rich. Okay, so, hi everybody. This is Christian RPG Gamers. So, for today's video, this is the background footage. I was playing some of this YS game. And I'll just show some of the background footage for it. So, I guess I just wanted to use this video. I just wanted to talk about, I think, reasons for why Christians should want to love playing like video games, right? Or nerdy activities. So what are some reasons for the Christian faith wanting to love stuff like gaming? I would argue one good reason is because it unites us as believers together, and it just as the human race together. And uniting together is a good thing. And there is a lot of division in the world, and there's a lot of malicious hate and evil, but we can still choose to find reasons to want to bond together, or even in despite of the darkness. So I think gaming is something that's really interesting and that we can kind of enjoy together. We can enjoy it together, or we can enjoy it by ourselves individually, or we can you can share our love together, or maybe we can literally play it together. So I would say uniting together is a good reason. I guess also on the idea of division, there's just so much anger out there though also, and there's so many reasons. It's if you just go on YouTube, for example, most of your favorite gaming people, they're just really mad. I think there is a level of truth to this. And you can you also can see that from the world. The world, just the general the more secular people, they're extremely mad. And there is a layer of truth to this. They have this explosive rage and just hate and anger and just violent thoughts. And again, that does become a bad thing. But I really, to be honest, I don't think that really has anything to do with the Christian faith at the end of the day, or even really gaming. I think it's just a lot of people they're just really mad and unhappy in life, and they don't feel very satisfied and very there's nothing in their life that really matters or means anything. And when you just live your life being empty all the time, it's eventually something's got to give. And I would argue, as Christians, we're supposed to be filled with God's Holy Spirit. And we do, and as Christians, we do have a purpose for living. There are many reasons for why we exist. So, and there's a lot of things that can unite us together. And yeah, again, you game. I think so. Video games, they are a lot of fun. I think that's something that we really shouldn't take that for granted too much. And I know that it's easier just to to be bitter in life, but you can choose to have fun playing games too. And I think having fun is important. It's you got to draw some kind of hard lines in life. The idea of having fun, I think, is important, but you don't want your fun to you don't want to mix your fun up too much with other other types of stuff either, because there's having fun, and there's also also you want to win. There's being competitive. There's there's all sorts of other stuff. Like there's like trying to make lots of money, turning into a business. Like there's like I think like entertainment's really not doesn't exist. It never really was the purpose for stuff like hyper capitalism. It's not about necessarily making money. Like games in general are really supposed to be able to having fun, but it's been kind of perverse and warped over the years. And it's not really even. I feel like the point of video games isn't that you necessarily just like have to beat the game. It's just that you get to just have a good time, and maybe you do beat the game eventually. But it's just about having a good experience. So. But yeah, but they have been warped and perverse for quite some time. But some of these things are only inevitable at the end of the day too. But yeah, but having fun is important. So again, what's maybe like another good reason? Oh yeah, like even here in this example, right? There's again, this is a fantasy world, but there's a lot of Christian themes in games. In general, like in this game specifically, there's a nun, and she mentions God's name. I don't know if it's like it's probably not technically a quote unquote Christian church, but it's a fantasy version of a church. It gets a little bit morally gray, but there are a lot of Christian themes in the vast wide majority of games, even if they're not directly outright Christian technically. They probably have a lot of Christian inspiration and themes. So I would say, Christians. I think, if as a Christian, like there's plenty of reasons to say yes to wanting to enjoy a game. If you're willing to look for it, like there's a lot of positives out there. There's also a lot of negatives, and I mean, like obviously, you do got to be careful. So I don't know. I think this is a theme song. It might be a little bit loud, but I don't know for sure. Well, hopefully this isn't copyright claimed. It might be though. So yeah. Again, like you playing a video game like Divinity Original Sin. Like even the name has like deep Christian references in it, right? And again, like there's so many different like role-playing choices. There's great stories, characters. There's so much. There's so much Christian. There's a direct Christian symbolism. There's lots of indirect themes. And just as a human being, like there's moral virtue. There's a lot of cool stuff in it. And there's lots of fantastical versions of reality. That, I mean, it's hard to keep track of even what they all are, or what they should be, but again, like you can enjoy yourself quite a bit. You can. I guess like maybe like another good reason to enjoy stuff like games is that there's a level of escapism, and something doesn't have to always be one for one directly part of the real world. Because I feel like one reason, again, like a lot of people want to play video games, or they want to watch a great movie or a story or something, is because they don't want it to be directly like literal one for one their real world life. Because they want to do something that's more enjoyable, or they want some fantastical elements to it. But I mean, it doesn't have to be like completely so unhinged to the point where it's not healthy necessarily either. But I think fantastical elements and aspects do make games very interesting. Or they make your life more enjoyable. And lots of fancy lots of fancy pictures and colors and stuff. Like even looking at like this game, what do you call it? Ys. It's called Lacrimosa of Llama. It's just a great example of a very fun game. It's just a very great story, lots of adventure. Well, not of Llama, of Dana, right? Sometimes there can be a little bit of a cliche trope story too. But like, sometimes you kind of expect you kind of know what you're getting into a little bit, but sometimes you just gotta like kind of pull the wool over your eyes a little bit, and just gotta kind of let yourself kind of let the game, like, immerse yourself into it a little bit. Like, I understand that it's never gonna. A lot of things in this world, obviously sin corrupted this world. Nothing's really ever perfect or like incredibly perfectly good or whatever, but you can still try to find some things you want to enjoy. Kind of maybe let yourself, like, just lose yourself a little bit in the world, and just kind of like what do you call it? Just enjoy yourself a little bit. It could be you could be playing a more realistic world. You can play a fictional world. You could be playing a more higher fantasy world. The escapism isn't good. It's a good thing, I think. It's a form of like healing too. And there can be quite a bit of enjoyment. And again, there is a lot of fun. And so like, what would be like another good point? Again, like some of the stuff is just I personally like. Now I think a lot of people enjoy similar stuff. Again, like I personally like a lot of adventure. I mean, maybe to be honest, sometimes a lot of our lives in the real world are just very boring, and that's probably why we like entertainment. Or we have to deal with just insufferable, awful people every day. Or you got all your personal issues and all your past problems and everything, and it's nice to just go be part of a be part of a different society that it's not like your own, and go on a fun little adventure. And there is enjoyment to that. Or maybe maybe you're like maybe you're disabled or something. You can't walk, or you can't use your arm or something, or and then your character can do maybe your character can jump like 20 feet in the air, or like he's like super strong. Or maybe your character's a female. Your character's like, maybe you're just not very good looking in the real world. I mean, the truth is a lot of people aren't good looking, but maybe your character is extraordinarily beautiful. And that's a nice feature that you can have in like a game that you might not get to have in real life. And we're only gonna live for so long, but like video games, or it doesn't have to just be a video game, right? You could be watching an anime, a television show, a movie, or reading a book, or any of this stuff, right? You can become like your perfect ideal version of who you want to be. Or even like and obviously you still have the faults and flaws too, but it would be it's like you could still get to enjoy it if you want to. And there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. In a lot of ways, it really, to be honest, a lot of these types of stuff, it's really your imagination is really your limit. Yeah, like there's so many maps you can go to explore, and things you can do and experience. And maybe there doesn't have to always be an end result. There doesn't necessarily have to be. You don't always have to have like a major reason for where you want to go. Sometimes it's like so I think I was listening to this song. Okay, now like again, like it's a little bit more like on the feminine side. I think it was from what's it called? Miley Cyrus is like called like The Climb. Now this is like an incredibly old song. She used to actually sing decent songs. She used to behave and look like a beautiful woman too. And now she's just basically like a, not to be too crass, but it's almost like a whore at this point. But she used to have some good songs, right, when she worked with Disney. But there was this this idea of like it's not about the I don't even know how I found that song, but it just reminded me, right? It's like it's not always about the end destination. or it's not always about all that kind of stuff. It's about, you know, like just the journey you're going through. Like it doesn't really, again, like it's like all the other stuff at the beginning and the end, and all this other stuff, it doesn't really matter. It's like in life, you go through the trial and the test. It's like, you know, it's like all this other stuff doesn't matter. It's like about the journey, right? Or like, or even like that song, right? The idea of going on the climb. And there is a lot of biblical Christian themes to that idea. And I think that's one thing about video games. Like again, especially when you're older, right? Like if you're new to the experience, you're basically like innocent. You don't know any better. But eventually, it's like it becomes kind of irrelevant. It's like, you know, say you go through the whole journey and you beat the end boss, right? And you complete the mission. It's like, you know, you have a great experience. And you find out that most of these RPG games and stuff, they're kind of all the same at the end of the day. And you realize it's not, again, it is not always about the end destination. It is going on the experience. And just kind of like, you know, falling in love with the characters and just kind of losing yourself to the world. So, and then obviously the end journey destination is also important. But like our journeys usually aren't over. Like, you know, if you're younger still, you still might have years to be alive. I believe, you know, as a Christian, you know, we're going to heaven. Heaven is our end destination, you know. But we're gonna live there with God and all the other believers for eternity. You know, a place of perfection. So there is that end result, right? But until we get there, until revelation comes about, you know, we're gonna be here. So on some levels, I think it's a good idea to just kind of accept the idea that life is a trial and a test. I believe literally it also is too. So endorsing the idea of being like an adventurer, like even this character here, what's his name's we call it Mr. Christian, right? It's ironic if this game also your main character's name is Christian. Now it's not really the biblical Christian, but it still has very similarities to it. Oh yeah, I was just gonna use this video for, I guess they have both positives and negatives in this. Some are Christian references and some are some like little naughty stuff too, but just it is what it is. There's a naughty scene. Just it is what it is. Sometimes, you know, sometimes when you want to enjoy an experience, you get the full experience, right? You get everything in it. Now, there's nothing actually bad in here, but it's a little bit naughty. But again, I feel like, you know, also in a game, you get everything, right? You get all the positives and you get all the negatives. So that's just the way it is, right? So, but I think also on some levels, learning to accept that's just the truth, right? And you get all the pros and you get all the cons. I think that's just like, you know, that's part of the fun, right? I mean, you got to be careful what stuff you use or you let yourself enjoy, but you got to have some discernment, like be a little more prudent, right? But there is a lot of stuff you can enjoy, and there's a lot of stuff that can just completely ruin your life if you let it, right? Here, what other stuff do I have here? So I was making one for Elex 2. Oh yeah, I also have one for Biomutant, but I couldn't get the sound effects to not work for Biomutant. I think Elex is probably going to be very loud. What other background could I use? I'm trying to make some new ones, but we'll see what happens, right? Here, I'll just use this Final Fantasy. I don't know how long I'll make this video, but we'll go a little bit more, right? So yeah, I think I've given about 5 reasons. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the idea of 5. I might make it like 7 or something. So, what are some other reasons for why enjoying not enjoying fantasy, just enjoying games, right? So I guess if I was continuing with the other one, the other idea I was going with, again, sure, I'll try making this into a point. Again, there is a lot of good and there is a lot of evil that exists out there, just in general, and also within entertainment. And like even the idea of YS, right? Or I'm not even sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, or like yeast or something. Or honestly, the first example that was gonna pop into my mind was The Witcher 3. So when you start out with The Witcher 3, right? There's basically like a full rear nudity from like Yennefer, and she's basically like she's mostly naked for the most part, and that's a pretty sexual scene. So there could be a lot of bad stuff in that game, right? And also in like The Witcher 3, you have the ability to you can do a lot of virtuous stuff. Like you can help people who are in need. You can kind of like be like a Giga Chad. So and again, also in The Witcher, there's like, again, there is like full scale black magic, dark, twisted, unholy crap, and that stuff is really bad. But there's also, they have like a church. They have like, there's a lot of stuff that could be good in the game. They have like a lot of friendships, a lot of like a story of redemption. So there's a lot of good stuff in these games, and there can be a lot of evil stuff in the games. And that's also kind of the truth about life, is that there is just a lot of good and evil in life. And video games are really no different at the end of the day than just your average, everyday, regular life. And sometimes you have to accept the full package. So, if you're playing a game with fantasy, there's going to be bad stuff in it, and there's going to be good stuff. And that's just kind of the way it is, right? If you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, there's going to be some evil stuff in it. And maybe there's going to be full-scale, demonic sorcery spellcasting classes. And there's going to be some really naughty stuff in it. There's also a lot of good, too. Just as much, and then maybe they have like a tiefling race you can play as. Maybe they also have like an angel race you can play. Or they have tieflings aren't technically like evil, but their lineage is like half human, half demon. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're evil. But, to tell you the truth, they do lean that way, right? Or at least that's where they came from. Just as I think they're called there's a celestial, and there's a few other names they might use, like I think it's like an Aesamir. There's a few different types of races out there that might have like an angelic blood, or like have divine, holiness, like from God himself, or they call them like quote unquote gods or whatever. They have a lot of good that you could be in the game too, right? So you kind of get the full package. There's going to be good and there's going to be evil, and I think at the end of the day, it's a very beautiful thing. So maybe that's the argument, right? It's a beautiful thing in games, and a lot of that is the same thing with our lives. In the past, we've probably done a lot of bad things. We probably deeply regret them too. We also can do a lot of good, because along with that is what human beings are. We are very morally gray. There just is truth to that. I mean, you can want to believe that you can want to strive for an ideal world, but we live in a very broken, fallen society. But there is truth to that. But again, just as much as you can find redemption, or you can fall into despair. You can be damned to hell, and you can be saved to heaven. So. But I think as a Christian, we should strive to want good, and we should try to suppress and oppose darkness, and try to more embrace the light. Because the world is okay with everything, but we should not be okay with everything. It's just the truth. And it might not be popular, right? But Like everything is legal for the world no matter what, and they have no restraints no matter what. But we as Christians, we should want to strive to be better. You know, even though it's difficult, we should still want to do better anyways. Because again, also the truth about being a Christian, right? What is the difference between a Christian and a person of the world if we as Christians are literally one-to-one identical with everyone else? What makes us anything different or better? If we do every single thing 100% identical as everybody else, then we're not any different. If we play as a sorcerer class, then like there is no difference, right? Like we play as a tiefling who's a sorcerer who has demonic powers, and they call upon some otherworldly entity of darkness, and you know they're chaotic evil, and it's like, you know, you go this and that and here and there. They're just a really bad person, a screwed up past, no sense of redemption. They join like the Thieves Guild and they join like the Assassins Guild, and it's just, you know, just a terrible person at the end of the day. Try to enslave people and torture people, and there's no moral lines. They're just laughing at other people's distress. Is that really the kind of person that a Christian should want to be or want to play in their game as? I would say no. As a Christian, we should strive, you know, to achieve a higher levels. And to be honest, we might fail. We might fail, but we should at least want to try to be better. So I guess there is that, right? Because you got to accept everything. If you want to enjoy, you know, a piece of content, you gotta accept it all. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it, but you gotta on some levels just accept it. So like what would maybe be like a point number 7? I'm not sure I can come up on the top of my head, but what are some other reasons to enjoy it? So, I guess this could be a reason in and of itself. The idea, maybe the idea of like personal growth. You know, yeah, like, so maybe you committed a sin in the past, and you've been struggling and, you know, trying to overcome that sin. But sometimes in life, you need some kind of an outlet. A creative outlet. You need some kind of you need some way to express yourself, or maybe you need something. So I feel like as a person of the faith, playing a video game, or it could be, and I play a lot of fantasy games. I mean, I kind of play them all. They don't really make too many more realistic games anymore, and the realistic games they make are just so dark. So it's like, it's hard to find them these days, but, or like generally it's like a military game, and it's like, it's really brutal. But you know, then fantasy is also kind of turning darker too. So, but if you know, like it's a great way to have, like, you know, an outlet. So you can see other characters struggling through their own dilemmas. And no, it's probably a mock version of something that could exist. And maybe watching a character struggle in a story, that could help you find a way to get past your own regrets or your own problems in life. It's like, you know, like say you were struggling with I don't know, what would be some hypothetical example? I don't know, some past guilt you had in your life, and I don't know, what would be some hypothetical example? Like, say you committed theft, you stole something in the past, and, like, you know, your theft catches up with you or something, and you see it, like, you know, but you want to be like a knight, you want to be like an honorable knight, but, you know, you stole a bunch of stuff when you were younger. And, you know, maybe you see a character in a story who strives to be a knight, or maybe it's not one for one perfect, like, quote unquote identical, but it has strong enough similarities that they could be, you know, an example from, like, you know, the real world, like yourself to your character, right? Like maybe you're playing like, Fire Emblem, and like, Fire Emblem is filled with tons of noble characters, but like you have like a noble knight who's striving to be, who's a leader, but like, has a checkered past. He's trying to be better, and like, he goes through his own little personal issues. He has to go through some kind of a trial. He fights through it. Eventually he has to face his demons, and he gets through it. Maybe it's like maybe he gets through it due to some, maybe like one of his friends helps him. He spent his whole life alone. Maybe he was poor. Eventually, he meets some new friends or something, or new opportunities come up, and maybe his past also catches up with him too, and he has to work on his personal issues, and and maybe he struggles through it and he falls down, but some other source of power or reason helps him to, like the power of righteousness, helps him to find his way out of that mess. He conquers the trial, and he kind of makes amends. And maybe at the ending of the story, he gives away some special rare item he found to some person who was in need. Kind of like sealing the deal of trying to make amends for his action. And like, you as a person in the real world could watch a character going through some hypothetical example, and maybe you would relate to that character. Or maybe it's not your personal issue, but it's still like, it's still something that could, it could be inspiring. And like, I know there's like, the anime shows like, like Naruto or something, or like My Hero Academia, or even like Dragon Ball Z. Like the main character, like, striving to become like the very best. And because of this, you watch the character, and it's like it makes you inspires you, right? It makes you want to become the best, or become the best version of yourself. And the same thing could be true with, as much could be true with positive as it could be true with negative when it comes to this. Again, like a character struggling with guilt, they did a bunch of bad things, and maybe a character, wants to do something good, or wants to, aspire to something. And like a story could also show that. Or like, you got like the Disney version of a lot of the stuff, like, it was like from Tangled, like, when will my life begin? Being like living in your own little castle, or like being kind of trapped there. It's just like feeling like, there's something more for your life. And you can enjoy that story from another character's point of view. And like, maybe there's nothing negative pressing that person, but they're just very bored, or they want something more deeper in their life. And I feel also from like a Christian point of view, right? Like you can enjoy that character story, and maybe maybe it has something to do with like the Bible, and maybe it's just something to do with morality. You never really know exactly. And it could impact your life. Okay, so yeah, I'll probably name this video like, 7 reasons, for. I'll have to think of a clever way to say it, but that's basically 7. I think it's like 7 major reasons, or like 7 key reasons to, as a Christian, why I think like stuff like, like video games or just like entertainment, I think is a good thing for a person. So, okay, so in the comment section below, let me know what let me know, is there any reasons why you as a Christian like stuff like video games? Or do you want Christian themes to be put into games or into entertainment? Or do you just want like Christianity to stay out of your entertainment? And is there a reason for why you do or don't want that? And do you think as a Christian that you want to see like literal direct acts of faith? Or are you just more okay with like just very secular stuff? Or what is your thoughts on all this stuff? Or also in the comments, like what are some reasons that you like, what are some positive reasons for why you just enjoy entertainment at large? Let me know what your thoughts are. I appreciate it. God is good.